Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast with Investing Education Academy. You have myself, Brent Simpson, and Leon Noble with you. Now, some of you all have been opening up your brokerage accounts thinking, what in the world is going on? What is happening with the market, and how long will this last? What should I do? We're going to talk about some of those things today. But again, you have to be in communities where you're talking about these things. You need to surround yourself in a non-fake news environment because there's a lot of random thoughts about what's going on. And again, do your own research. Always, always, always do your own research. So we're going to talk about the market today. And we still say, do your research, make sure it makes sense to you because everybody has a different suitability. If you are not a member of Investing Education Academy, I suggest you become one because we were talking about this 2 days ago when this was really starting to happen. And over 2 days, a 3% move, 2%. I mean, it really depends on the stock you have because some of them moved up to 15, 20%. So 2 days worth of information missed actually makes a difference.
Well,
That is why,
actually, 2 weeks ago we brought
yeah,
this up. Yeah, we brought this up. So the topic today will be just kind of talking about the market and the craziness going on. But so we had said to our community about 2 weeks ago, we made the point like, look, it's about to hit the fan, right? Like, tariffs, the deportations, like all the things from the Trump administration that a lot of people now are finding out. Yeah, this what everyone thought. It's like, okay, leading into this year when Trump got elected, the market ran up like 10%. I mean, it was crazy. It was in the last 2 months of the year, market went wild. Reason being was they thought there was going to be this massive deregulation. Trump is quote unquote good for the market. No idea where that came from. And so there was just this general euphoria around Donald Trump. I think a lot of people forgot what Donald Trump is when he governs, right? I mean, aside from all the, people find him funny, people find him entertaining. Cool. Teach his own. But when he has to govern, especially govern around like
monetary policy.
yeah, a specific situation like COVID, you saw how that went down, and now he's coming in. So his first administration, he came in.
And
Some
hold
people
up,
say,
Lee, before you go
yeah,
too far into it, I'll even go back even further.
mm-hmm.
We said this will happen at the election. We were like, it's going to be a bubble. Once the
Oh yeah,
smoke clears, the market's going to realize what happened. And we said this. It probably was November, December.
right. Right, because that run up into the end of the year made no sense. Like, I mean, Tesla went from 250 ish, it doubled, right? It doubled in like a month and a half, and only around the association of Musk being associated with Trump. At the same time, Tesla's fundamentals are in the toilet. Like around the world, their sales are down double digits. So it wasn't trading on the fundamentals, which not every stock does, but and the whole market did that. So say that say yes, we were talking about actually this could end badly ish during the election, and so what happened during Trump's first administration? He came with a decent economy, did his thing like 3.5 years totally fine, or two and a half years totally fine. COVID hit, we all know what happened. And then this time he's come in with so the first time he didn't really have much of an agenda. People think he was kind of winging it, to each his own, whatever they think. But things were relatively calm-ish. This time, as we have all seen, he's coming with a sledgehammer to primarily the federal government, because him and then some of his backers, which is the Heritage Foundation, it's a conservative think tank. They want to cut the federal budget. We're running at a $37 trillion deficit. We're paying like $1 trillion a year in taxes or something, in interest payments. So there is definitely need for federal spending cuts. However, my opinion is that should take place over years. Kind of slow walk it because it affects people. But they're trying to do it literally in a month. I mean, Trump's been in office a month and they've cut tens of thousands of people, and it's having a ripple effect across the country, right? So a lot of them are thinking that
Across the world,
right? True, across the world. A lot of people are thinking like, hey, we're just cutting those fat cats, those freeloaders, as Musk called them, the parasite class, the parasite class. And he's talking about the civil servants who work for the federal government. Figuring cutting them in DC was fine because they deserve it, right? But not realizing that actually more federal employees work outside of DC than inside DC or inside the DMV. So, a lot of these red states, Texas, Idaho, Montana, the Midwest, Florida, like there are tens of thousands, if not 100,000 people that are being affected, have lost their jobs for no fault of their own, right? Just because they want to cut federal spending, which again does need cutting, but this is not the way to go about it. And so it's having a ripple effect. So you have people being laid off by the tens of thousands, not just in DC, but across the country. Other part of that is there are adjunct businesses that are associated with the government that support the government, right? So you have consultancies, typically consultancy government contractors that employ also tens of thousands of people that are now also laying people off because of the federal funding freeze, as well as the layoffs. So it's a slow ripple effect going across the country right now. I don't know if y'all are online much, but if you go to YouTube, man, it is people on there. So right now, Congress, they were back home. I think they're back in DC now. But these Republicans who are, at least right now, supporting this are getting chewed out. And these are in districts where Trump won by over 60%. So these are Trump voters who are livid because they've lost their jobs. Somebody in their families lost their jobs. The guy down the street, like it's just rippling through their communities. And again, they're like, yo, we didn't vote for this. Like, we voted for safe borders. We voted for, lower taxes. We did not vote for mass layoffs in our community. So Republicans in Congress are really feeling it right now. So regarding the market, what we've seen, as Brent said, we said during the election, something's going to happen, right? Then 2 weeks ago, we were like, we posted to our community saying, look, you may want to kind of adjust your portfolios because things are about to get really bad. And one way we kind of knew it was just intuitively, mass layoffs are never good for the economy. But two things: the retail sales number that came in for January plummeted, meaning that now people were saying that coming off December where everybody spends during Christmas. Of course, it is true that typically happens. Well, that sometimes happens, but actually historically shows that January is typically an up month for whatever reason. It's simply an up month for consumer spending money. This time it dropped by one of the biggest drops, I think, on record. And then the jobs number that came in last month missed by a ton.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think they were expecting 170. They came in at like 140, 130. It was horrible. It missed horribly. So what this means is that, then another thing, there's something that's called the PMI survey. And what the PMI survey measures is how much economic activity is happening because our economy is mostly a services-based economy. So how much activity is happening with businesses, restaurants, parks, whatever. That tanked as well. So basically what all this is showing is that consumers are now feeling these mass layoffs that are rippling through the economy. Another point, Trump's tariffs, right? So right now he has implemented tariffs on China, and he's implemented tariffs on all aluminum and steel that comes into the United States. What does that affect? Cars, everything. Washing machines,
everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Any kind of like quasi big purchase item is going to be made with steel and or aluminum. And then of course, so I have a friend of mine. She she uses something called Shein. I think it's like one of these. I think it's like a higher end Temu sort of thing. But when they were ordering things, her and her friends were ordering things. They said they got a message saying that their deliveries might be delayed and or maybe even canceled based on the tariffs implemented on China because they're out of China or they do a lot of business in China. So what Trump is doing is having a horrible effect on the economy right now, and it's just beginning because this has just started. So another thing is the unemployment numbers, what they call continuing unemployment numbers last month. Oh, sorry, it comes out every week. Last week ticked up by 5,000 to 219,000. Not a lot, right? Well, the reason I know it's not a lot because typically economists say once that number hits about 250,000, you kind of start getting worried. So we're at 219. My expectation is that this Thursday, that number is going to jump dramatically, maybe the 220s, 230s. And then over the coming weeks, you're going to see that number tick up well above 250. And again, these are people that are filing unemployment or who are continuing their unemployment. Is going to jump dramatically because, again, federal government's firing tons of people. And then adjunct industries that support the federal government are also firing a ton of people. Last point, this is horrible, is because coming into this year, employment was slowing anyway, right? So employers, We're just hiring less. The economy was fine, but they're hiring less. Now you have all this drama with what Trump is doing. So everyone is panicked. Everyone is scared. Companies are now pulling back. So consumers and companies are pulling back on spending, which is going to slow economic growth. And I mean, I know the big R word is everyone's fear, but I personally, this is me talking, not for IA, not for Brent. I think we could hit. If this continues on this path, the country could be in a recession come summer or into fall. That's how this is deteriorating that fast. Like the numbers that are coming, the economic data that's coming in is literally recessionary like. And so again, back to the market, none of this is good for the market, right? None of this is good for stocks. We all look at our portfolios. We're seeing, a lot of red, a lot of negative numbers. But what I posted yesterday, we posted yesterday was saying that we said this before, like the best days in the market typically comes after the worst days in the market. Now, those worst days can go on for days or weeks, right? So we never know when the bottom is. But as we always said, is you want a dollar cost average or just buy periodically, no matter what the market is doing, up or down, because when you do that, your average comes out to be, you get the average price versus a higher low price. So right now, what we were saying the other day was saying, look, these are times to buy. Like it hurts, it sucks, it's painful. You don't want to look at your portfolio, you don't want to look at your 401k. But as we always said, 3 to 5 years from now, when you look back, you'd be like, I'm glad I bought during those discounts. People that bought during the bottom of COVID are up 3, 4, 5, 600%, some over 1,000%. So these are the times you want to buy. It's horrible and it's going to continue. But just, dollar cost averaging if you can. We actually recommended some stocks that we looked at that we know are down 10 to 20%, that we're actually looking to buy and or have bought, that we said to our community yesterday. So just FYI, if you're in the community, if you're an IA insider or Panther, check the platform or check your email.
Yeah, and the situation is affecting every industry. So it's not as if it's isolated to those people who are working with the federal government or just steel or just aluminum or anything coming out of China. You're talking about, a large part of European nation is, essentially, if you're going to put tariffs on us, we're going to put tariffs on you. Mm-hmm. There are some countries that are essentially, they're saying that everybody who's based in certain American businesses has to get out their country. So it is absolutely a trickle-down effect, and the market has already responded. And you got to think too, the market's always forward-looking. So the market is looking at what is going to happen in addition to what has happened, and people are realizing some of these numbers, like Leon said, the numbers didn't make sense from last year. So they're definitely not there has been no fundamental change. It's just it was a play on momentum, what I would call a momentum play. Mm-hmm. Almost like a meme cryptocurrency.
Right.
Like it really has no use. It's just the fact that people are playing the momentum of it. So now that the momentum of the election is behind us, people are looking at, okay, what's the real business in front of us? And it looks horrible. So, just understand when you're looking at your portfolio, yes, Leon and I are huge proponents of 3 to 5 years on whatever you're purchasing. We're also saying, when you're making speculative investments, don't use money that you need for medicine, to feed the kids, for school, for education. Now is also the time to look at your portfolios and think, what is my asset allocation? Like, because if you were heavy tech, which most of them were and are, you'd like heavy tech, should you be heavy tech right now? If we're going into an economy that might affect how people create technology, how it advances, is that where I want to be? Maybe you should be there. Maybe you don't have enough of your portfolio there. If you were heavy in bonds and you were doing bond laddering, it's so really what I'm saying is this is a great time to rethink your portfolio, whatever it is. If you were heavy real estate, the real estate market will be affected. Like it is an absolute. And if you were thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to go into these bonds and I'm just going to sit in these bonds, are you missing some of these discounts? Mm-hmm. So it's never just a linear thought like, oh, well, I'm just going to get this one thing and just stay in this space. You really need to look at your portfolio, see if it makes sense for you, see if it makes sense for what you want your future to be, even in a recessionary type environment. And so, yeah, that's it for us. Leon, is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, just and so those who may not know, a tariff, the way tariffs work is tariffs work are the federal government just it's essentially a tax, right? So if something costs $100 and the U.S. government taxes it by 10%, puts a 10% tariff on it, that thing now costs $110. Well, the merchant who's selling that is not going to eat. Typically, they're not going to eat the cost, so they're going to pass that cost on to you. So that's why tariffs are bad, is because it raises prices. Now, a lot of us already know, last year, my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, Biden lost or Harris lost mainly because of inflation. People were just sick of 3 years of just their wallets getting decimated by inflation. Not saying it was Biden's fault, not saying it was anybody's fault. It was, just it was what it was. Now coming this year, one of Trump's main things was like, in day one, I'm gonna lower prices, and Trump with his bluster. And actually everything has gone up in price, right? So egg prices are up double, since this election. And I just saw just now on business news that commodity prices are going up. Cattle, one thing they were talking about was actually cow prices, which is now going to affect beef, has gone up dramatically, and it's going up. So, and again, this is around kind of, again, the tariffs, the uncertainty. It's just the economic environment right now is just terrible. So that's what tariffs are. And to Brent's point about the stock, about your positions, don't be afraid right now to take profits also, right? Like if you're up in something 20, 30, 40%, even maybe even more than that, you're right now, I'm sure you're seeing you're down a bit from your high, but there's nothing wrong with taking profits right now too, and just having some money on the side to buy some of these discounts, or just kind of to wait out this turbulence we're going through right now. So taking profits is another option too, versus actually buying discounts, just to, so you can sleep at night, and then you have money on the side to maybe buy some of these discounts in the future.
Yep. So for anybody who has been thinking, you know what, I think now is a good time for me to join a platform like Investing Education Academy, you can go to IEAmembers.com. We're happy to have you. For the members who are currently with us, please know that we owe you 2 stock picks. So it's a great time to go log back in, take a look at the stock picks. And if you are thinking, you know what, maybe I should do something different in my portfolio, and you want to reach out to Leon and I to talk about it, you can find us at which one? info@IEAnow.com. Is that the best one, Leon?
Yeah.
info@IEAnow.com,
Yeah.
or you can go investingeducationacademy@gmail.com.
Right.
Drop us a line. If something we can do to assist, we will. But with that being said, we thank you for being with us. We'll be back with another podcast in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll have better news. So 2 weeks, look for us.
But yeah.
Yeah, we'll be looking for you. Have a great day, everybody.